just like that, baby. It's another sexy September here on Film Seizure. Ooh, yeah, this week is Color of Night.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You just heard that the next episode of Film Seizure, Sexy September, is, unfortunately, Color of Night.
Color of Night.
Color of Night.
1994 sexiness for the sake of whatever the fuck. Just sell some fucking tickets, show some titties.
Steamy. It's gonna be steamy.
My disc did have 15 extra minutes of steaminess.
Steaminess, yeah. Which I read a little bit about that. All right. So this is Color of Night.
What is the color of night?
Apparently it's red.
I would disagree.
I think so too.
I think it's like midnight blue.
Maybe that's the point. Maybe because he's colorblind, and that's what the situation is here. Is Bruce Willis is colorblind?
We'll
he
set
can't
that up
see
here.
the color red. But yeah, maybe the color of night is what he sees, and it's black. It's gray. Is that possible?
But nighttime is not gray.
I don't know. It's stupid. It's one of many stupid things in this movie. But yes,
I'll sling this one over my shoulder and take credit for this one.
You're gonna take us down this road. Well, first of all, this extra steamy 15 minutes. First of all, all right, many firsts of all here. We watched the extended director's cut.
So the original movie is like 2 hours 5 minutes.
It's almost 2 hours flat, actually, like 121, which is already too long. But and that was the producer's cut.
Yes.
There was a dispute over the cut. It's always a bad sign when you're testing two different versions of a movie and you're trying to determine like which one is getting the moderately better screen test reviews. But it was determined that the producer's cut of 121 minutes or so would be the one that would be released, as long as the director's cut would be released on home video.
Yeah, I think
which is a pretty common compromise you see these days.
Right, and we both worked at the same video store. We talked about video store shenanigans last week.
Yeah.
We both worked at the same video store. This came out on video shortly before I started working there in June of 95.
Okay.
This came out earlier in 95, but it was still on the new release wall, and it's like, oh, I bet that's sexy. That looks sexy. I remember people talking about that.
I rented this one on video too. I forget which buddy I watched it with, but we were like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna watch something sexy.
It's like that girl's getting fucked in the butt by Bruce Willis. Like that, fantastic. And it always said director's cut.
Right.
And
back in those days, whenever you saw director's cut or unrated cut, it was always like, ooh, it's extra sexy.
It's extra sexy.
And that's how they sell it, obviously. 15 more steamy minutes.
It's like you can sell something as unrated on VHS, but in theaters it has to fit, G, PG, PG-13, R,
not only that,
NC-17.
but it has to fit certain runtimes so you can show it more.
Right. But if a movie was really like, nobody's telling The Godfather to trim it down.
But this was a situation where it wasn't cut because of steaminess for a better rating. It was cut because the producer thought that it would sell better if it were the shorter length. Which is probably true, because the less I would have to see this movie, the less of this movie I would have to see. Yeah, I agree. It would be better. Yeah.
We got so
if I had seen the 10-minute cut of this movie, which maybe would just be
sex scenes.
Yeah, naked Jane March. Then
Jane March.
March, whatever. March. March. Then that would have been the best cut.
Yes.
But yes, but we watched, because we're fucking masochists, we watched the 140-minute version of this movie.
We're just a couple of,
and it was 130 minutes too long.
I know there are some things, like, okay. Again, I'm going to take credit for this one. This is on me. I wanted to watch this movie.
No, but this was a perfect choice.
I know, but
I remember
this movie would not have been made without Basic Instinct. If we follow that through line for this month, for our Sexy September.
I mean, it was Maxim's pick for the sexiest sex scene ever.
Which one was that though? Because it's like, okay, yeah, sure. It's like
it was probably the one that started with his penis in the pool, and that went on forever in multiple locations.
First of all, I think there's a little discrepancy. I am digging what Jane March was bringing. You didn't so much.
I think that she's got a bit of a toothy mouth.
That's fine.
She doesn't. She's aesthetically not what I think is sexy.
That's fine. I was digging it. I was liking everything. Like, I'm always okay. Hollywood, if you want to make sure that I'm digging your femme fatale in your movie, the number one thing to check off the list. This is a little secret here. I don't mind telling you guys.
Ooh,
the number one
insider
secret.
Scoop.
Make it seem, at the very least, if not for real, and applause to last week's Basic Instinct for making sure that this was done. But if you want to make sure that I am in for this girl, make it so that all I believe that she is wearing is a dress and shoes, and I am in. If I know that there is nothing else underneath going on there, I'm like, she's sexy.
That's quite a bar.
It's a very
low bar.
It's
yeah.
low bar. It's the bare minimum of what somebody would wear in public. The bare minimum to get service at a McDonald's. That's all I ask for.
Huh. Well, that's interesting.
And they did that with her.
We're gonna do some Bruce Willis psychoanalysis on that, or maybe we'll go.
Yeah, there's really nothing to psychoanalysis.
Maybe we'll do some Scott Bakula psychoanalysis.
No, here's what it comes down to. Is it easy to just go from wearing 2 items to wearing nothing at all at that point? The fewer items you have to take off, the better.
Fewer items. So basically, the easier the access to the sexy bits, the sexier you are.
You got it. You got it.
Okay.
Put fucking, I don't know. I mean, like, okay, now obviously, I mean, Roseanne Barr is not going to, like, no. You're not going to be able to get that to fly in my book. But Jane March, toothy grin and all, I don't care. She got tossed into that pool. Those shoes came flying off, and the dress came right after it. She was naked. She's butt-ass naked.
This is a worthy addition to Sexy September. There is some sexiness, no doubt.
She has some beautiful boobs.
Everything you have to suffer through is
not worth
really, really melodramatic and
it's goofy.
And
goofy.
It's goofy.
It's
so
poorly
goofy.
written. It is so poorly
written. And it's
written.
really a shame because the actors involved in this movie are pretty fucking good.
I say that Bruce Willis was giving 1994 Bruce Willis performance. You thought he was a little flat.
He was pretty flat to me.
Everybody around him, though, was chewing scenery.
Yeah.
Like, Brad Dourif is awesome.
Bruce Willis was cashing a paycheck, I think. Everyone else was doing their thing. Yeah.
It's like, Lance Henriksen has a couple of really good emotional moments.
Yep.
Brad Dourif's got a good emotional moment. Leslie Ann Warren's just like fucking all over the place.
She's kooky
great.
as all hell. Yeah,
but great.
She's doing exactly what she's probably thinks she should be doing.
Yeah,
in this stupid fucking movie.
Kevin J. O'Connor, of course, is the jerk of the group. We're throwing stuff out here. We don't even know what's going on.
Nope.
So, all right. So here's what it is. Here's what it's all about. Bruce Willis is a behaviorist, which I guess was a thing in the 90s. It's not a thing anymore.
I think it's still a thing. Behavioralist.
I don't know. Behavioralist. But he says he's a behaviorist.
Are you sure he just isn't mispronouncing? I mean, this movie mispronounces everything. Fuck, it mispronounces Gene Triplehorn's name, I'm sure.
Two people talking about Basic Instinct and they can't get. No, so he's a behaviorist. That's what he says. I mean, I think
it's a thing.
It's a thing. It's a thing where he's. I have a feeling if it's anything, it maybe is what would be called a life coach now. Like there's back then it would have been a particular type of psychiatrist. But what are you behavioring? You know, it's like, what is it that you're breaking down about behavior that isn't psychiatry? I don't know. I mean, but anyway, he is a doctor at least. Are you looking at behavioralist?
I'm looking at behavioralist because.
But what is a behaviorist? That's what he says.
It's really just. Yeah, it's the same thing. I think you're just pronouncing it a different way.
I know that's what he said.
Behaviorist. If he says behavioralist, it's probably just a mispronunciation, and it's really just this person specializes in the study of behavior of animals or humans.
Okay, but that's not really what psychiatrists do.
Not really. And
so anyway, but okay, throw that out. Fuck
but
it.
it's
okay. He's God damn it. Again, this is gonna get to our points of stuff that we don't like about this movie.
Yes, that's true.
This is revealing the issue at large. So he is a psychiatrist. His name is Kappa.
Or a psychologist. Probably more of a psychologist.
God damn it. What's the difference between Wikipedia says psychiatrist.
Okay, fuck whatever.
Okay.
Psychologists, I believe, cannot prescribe medication.
We didn't see any.
Psychiatrists can.
Okay.
So psychology is really more of a head shrinker, whereas psychiatrists, I think, are using medical practice.
They didn't know.
No, they didn't
They didn't know in this
They didn't
movie.
know. It was just
But
they were all shrinks. They were all shrinks.
Okay, we'll just call them fucking shrinks. Fuck off
Fuck
with
off.
all this stuff.
Fuck off. F you. You know, he went to FU. Yeah. That's where he got his degree.
He went to callback. Certified callback. Boom. All right. So we got a shrink. Bruce Willis. His last name's Kappa because they constantly call him that.
Kappa.
Hey, this Kappa over here. What is it? No, Ruben
like,
Blades is the Kappa.
What is he? What is he? A Boston policeman?
Yeah, exactly.
Kappa.
Yeah.
Kappa.
At least his last name wasn't Stady in that case. It's like, oh my God, I'm so confused. Anyway, so Bruce Willis, head shrink. He has a very, very unstable lady who he's trying to help. She hates herself super bunch. So much so she throws herself out a window.
And this is important too. I guess there are important things in this movie, but he kind of is antagonizing her with his therapy.
Yeah, it's like
almost like he's a little bit
tough love.
disengaged from her.
Yes.
It's almost a frustration, but maybe it's a tactic.
I feel like that's a good point because okay, so he's like, look, shut the fuck up, bitch lady. What do you see in the mirror? Go fuck yourself. I'm leaving. I'll see you after lunch.
Yeah, every year you hate every week you hate something new. I can't keep up. You know,
right?
Look in the mirror, which is basically saying you hate yourself, don't you?
Yeah, because he's basically trying. Like in a way, I kind of see it's like he's trying to make her see herself,
right?
And then start from there. Maybe, but then
It's
I feel
really-
like I
it's-
know more about psychiatry than this fucking movie
exactly.
does.
It's some really heavy-handed psychiatry because it's like what he's trying to say is you hate yourself. We got to break it down.
Right.
But he's being really fucking rude about it and mean.
Kind of.
Yeah.
He's being a New Yorker about it.
Yeah.
He's being Bruce Willis.
So guess
about
what she does? She fucking throws herself out the
Flings
window.
herself out the window. Now, you only see it for a brief second, but one of my favorite things in the whole wide world in movies. In movies is that when somebody is falling, when you can spot the moment that they are a dummy, that they transform themselves into a dummy because their arms start to float up. And it's like they're not moving, and their arms are floating up.
So this woman just defenestrates herself from this building, and Geoff immediately starts laughing because he notices that the dummy arms. It's like, we're off to a good start here.
Sometimes the arms like float up. Sometimes the legs start to spread. You know. Sometimes, if you're lucky, like in the Fugitive, you get a little bit of both.
Yeah. When he does the head dive off the yeah.
So she smacks the ground, blood everywhere. He is severely upset by this, and good on like Bruce Willis for crying in it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And because normally you don't see him do shit like that. That's bullshit. he is looking down on her. Her blood turns gray because he's now shell shocked.
Which is honestly horseshit because he's about 100 floors above her in this
there's
huge
a lot of blood
skyscraper.
everywhere.
There's no way he sees the
He's far
definition
enough up
of the
for
blood.
her dummy to start raising her
Yeah.
eyes.
I mean, this was a ludicrously long falling sequence. I mean,
it's actually probably aggressively
realistic.
No, I was gonna say aggressively like brutal.
Yeah, well,
Because it's like-
and it shows it from a couple different angles. It's crazy.
You get to see those dummy arms,
and
from
then
all sorts of
when
angles.
she hits the ground, there's actually a shot of her on glass,
Right,
where the
it's
camera
like-
is under it, so you see
it's
the
the point of
blood.
view of the-
So you see the blood, so you get asphalt point of view.
which is I think kind of an interesting shot, but it plays into something else that we're gonna
Right.
talk about later.
Well, yeah,
as far as what this movie is trying to be.
Yep. All right, we'll
So
save it.
he says, all right, he's talking to his mentor, this old guy, like the most typical, like why they aren't playing chess in Central Park.
But
I don't know.
We've mentioned for certain though that he is colorblind now.
Yes.
because he can no longer see.
He can
the
no
color
longer
red.
see the color red. And sometimes you see from his perspective, like things fading out or fading, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's now just gray. It's just gray. Whatever. Sure. Okay, fine. That's a perfectly fine premise for a movie.
Yeah, fuck whatever.
Whatever. I think they said it's psychosomatic colorblindness, which might be a thing. It had a link in the fucking.
I mean, it's not physical. I mean, you're either
No.
colorblind or you're not.
No, but I can
And
understand.
and to not be able to see the color red after a traumatic event is psychosomatic. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like I'm sure my queasiness when I give blood is psychosomatic because sometimes I'm not queasy. It depends on the person taking the blood and how long they take and how I feel it and everything.
Yep.
It's like there was this one time that I went in to get my blood taken. Right. Here's another chapter of the mundane life of Geoff Arbuckle. Every year I got to get my blood taken from my doctor. And there was one time I went in and this lady like knows that I'm like not good with this, and obviously that probably makes her nervous. I pass out. Boom, gone. Next time I go, there's this heavyset black lady. I tell her this. She's like, mm-hmm. And she just like fucking does it. And she's like, all right, all done. You can leave now. And I'm like, oh, that was like 5 seconds. That's amazing. It's like the most, it's like she didn't give two, like I told her that. She's like, mm-hmm, yeah, whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like this, I love this lady.
Yeah.
Like, I want her every time. Never got her again. Yeah.
So you pass out?
Yeah, I passed out.
So they don't make a big deal out of it. It's almost like they're super robotically efficient.
Yes.
That it's over before you
and
even know it begins.
Because the thing is,
There's
it's
no
like she
production
doesn't-
around it.
right? Because she
Yeah.
didn't ask which arm would I rather. She just took
Just
an
did
arm
her
and
shit.
fucking did it, and then like boom, gone, done. It's like see you later. It's like whoa, like she even left the room. Like didn't even like. It's like get all
that
done.
Happened?
Yeah. Like she didn't even ask me to hold the fucking cotton ball to get it.
She knows what she's doing.
She was
Yeah.
fucking awesome,
That's
lady.
awesome. Shout out to her.
Yeah, I wish I knew your name so I could request you every time I go. Where were we at?
I fucking find out.
Oh, so the color red
Yes, the color red.
is gone now. So he's talking to his mentor, and that's when you learn that he might be a little disconnected from
Yes.
his profession, from helping people. And he's like, you've always been kind of a son of a bitch, basically, in so many words. It's like, but you know what? I can see this bothers you. I can see that you care about this. Why don't you take a break or whatever? And he doesn't just take a break. He quits. He quits his practice and decides to go out and see his buddy Scott Bakula out in California. So he goes to California. Scott Bakula has got this group. Now, we're going to talk about this group in
this
great detail
group.
here in just a moment.
This group is the whole movie, man.
But Scott Bakula lives in this beautiful mansion. He's written a successful self-help book, and he's scared for his safety. Comes to find out he thinks he's getting death threats, and he thinks it's somebody from the group that he works with. And he specifically wanted Bruce Willis to sit in ungrouped so that he can kind of pick his brain about anything that he saw. Just get a second pair of eyes on these people.
By the way, Bruce Willis's mentor and psychiatrist is played by Jeff Corey, who, looking at his
He's been in a billion
filmography,
things.
he's been in a billion things. I mean, my God. I mean, he was in some of the old serials like Superman and the Mole Men. He was in True Grit, the original, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Nice.
I mean, this guy, they call me Mr. Tibbs. Holy crow. Holy crow.
Holy crap.
Holy crow. I mean, yeah. So he's a guy that I don't really recognize, but whoa. He was in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So
This was his third to last movie. Yep.
he's pretty old.
Yep.
in this. So anyway, so
Way to go out.
Scott Bakula's like, he's like, man, I'm really kind of scared. I think it's somebody from the group. What do you think? And Bruce Willis like, I don't know. The Richie kid seems weird. We'll talk more about each one of these people here momentarily. I wrote them all down. Scott Bakula gets killed. So Bruce Willis just kind of fills in.
Yeah, it's weird.
Entirely.
So it gets. This is where the movie already starts to fall apart. You have this somewhat interesting premise of the first part of the movie that we already described. He goes to L.A., meets Scott Bakula, his buddy, for some, I think, just some away time, some maybe a little bit of friendship and therapy, because his friends as a psychiatrist or shrink too. But it gets already weird for him because he's invited into the group and he doesn't really want to be.
No, he was like, I'm perfectly fine just waiting outside. But Scott Bakula's scared for his life. He doesn't tell him.
He doesn't
until
tell him
after.
that, so it kind of makes sense. But then he tells him why he had him in, asks him for his opinion, like Geoff said. But then it gets totally off the rails the minute Scott Bakula dies.
Yeah, because then in comes the lead investigator, Reuben Blades, who Hector is this, and he comes in hot.
Oh my God.
And he wants Bruce Willis to basically take over the group, help him find who's killing them, get in there. It's like, well, what do you think? You're a fucking professional just like me. You got to have some suspicions just like me. And it's like, you're a fucking terrible cop.
And then he's like, what about you? You know, you heard you had a rivalry with them. You know, what if you're the killer? It's like he's all over the place and all up in Bruce Willis's butthole. He is. He's like, he's got his fist up his fucking ass, like immediately.
By the way, I bet Bruce Willis's butthole smells like the Jersey Turnpike.
Oh God, probably.
So Reuben Blades is now in there, and he's like, no, you got to take over this group because I need to find out if you think that it was somebody from the group, I need to know who that is. And then Bruce Willis is like, hey, you know what? I agree. I am going to take over. And then Reuben Blades is like, I don't want you to take over this group.
Yeah.
I told you, don't do this shit. People are crazy. Those guys are crazy.
There's a killer. You're
There's
going
a
to get
kill- you're
killed.
gonna get killed.
I don't be responsible. It's like,
It's like, tell us what you want, Reuben Blades. And so Bruce Willis starts he's driving Scott Bakula's car. He's squatting in his house. He's taking over his group. He's not licensed in the state of California, only in New York. Anyway.
So basically what we have is a movie written by someone who has no fucking clue about the subject matter they're writing about.
It's like
they don't know how
they read an article in like Reader's Digest about how people are going to psychiatrists.
They don't understand how a murder investigation is performed. They don't understand how psychiatry is performed. They don't understand when you wouldn't use like a group therapy session. And how you would conduct one. It is just fucking ludicrous, the whole thing.
Yeah. And so he's driving about L.A. because in L.A. in this movie there's no traffic anywhere. It's fucking ridiculous. And he gets rear-ended by a very pretty lady who calls herself Rose.
With too many teeth in her mouth.
No, she's got the perfect number of teeth. You wouldn't be complaining if she's giving you the business. I'm telling you that right now. Because she only wears 2 items of clothing.
I don't know, man. We just watched Sharon Stone and Basic Instinct.
But Sharon Stone oftentimes only wore 2 items of clothing too. Right.
They fit your model.
They fit my.
Yes.
Well, what do you want?
I want less teeth in her mouth. Probably.
You're a teethist.
I don't know. She's just not that pretty to me.
I don't know, guys. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. I like it. I'm into it.
It's fine.
I'm into it. Bruce Willis was way into it.
He was very into
I'm
it.
pretty sure he had a
He
boner
was
in that
so
pool
into
scene.
it that we were treated to the sight of his mushroomed head penis.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
But anyway.
So, they start this whirlwind relationship. However, there's some red flags.
Yeah.
She only comes to his place. She sometimes is in his Scott Bakula's house.
Yeah.
Without.
She's gotten past the alarm system.
Yeah. So she just shows up in again, following my rules, wearing only one item of clothing.
Yeah.
She's just wearing a little apron, cooking naked.
Yep.
Love that. Love that. Fantastic. Anybody want to cook naked over at my place?
And then she like coyly, it's like, oh, when she turned.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I forgot
I forgot
wearing
about that.
pants.
I wasn't wearing any pants.
Oops. You're so cute.
Sexy September, folks.
Yeah, I know, right? Probably helps that she's right about my age, too. It's like, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Wait, right about your age when you saw the movie?
No,
What are you talking about?
okay, so she was like 20
She was
when
20
she was making
when
that
she
movie.
made that movie, yeah.
Which I was, I don't know, like 17. So yeah, right in that group.
She was, however, much, much younger than Bruce Willis. Like way younger.
Hey,
Bruce
Hollywood,
Willis,
man.
Bruce Willis had to be in his 40s by then, right?
Yeah, at least.
Well, Ruben Blades makes the comment too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Because she comes over when she comes over in her little red dress, and they go diving into the pool, and that shit comes off real easy. Ruben Blades sees her on the little security cam. It's like she seems awfully young.
Yeah.
It's like Ruben Blades knows what's up. He knows what's up. He's like, you know what? Yeah. Because he's probably got a wife with like 24 kids at home. It's like he seems like a guy who's just.
Well, we went to his birthday party.
And there's like a billion
There
people.
was a fucking billion people there, and there was a police helicopter.
There was a whole mariachi band.
Yeah, and he spent the whole fucking party talking to Bruce Willis.
Well,
it's like, are you shitting me?
He's got a job. He's got policing is not a 9-to-5 job.
But I know, but it's his birthday party. A lot of people put a lot of effort into that, and he's just hanging out with Bruce Willis the whole time.
There's literally 75 people there.
Oh, at least.
I mean, he can't interact with every single one of them for the whole.
How much did that party cost?
I don't know, but they were eating a bunch of
special
tacos
party?
and
Was it
like
his
refried
50th
beans.
or
That shit
something?
ain't that expensive.
True, but that's true. That's true. And a mariachi band was probably family or something.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I want that party. For
It
my
was-
life.
it was a
That's
pretty
how
good
I
party.
want to spend my 50th.
It was a pretty good party. Mariachi band?
Mariachi band, 75 people. I don't care if I know them or not.
Helicopter?
Helicopter with a lady cop showing her
Oh
butt.
yeah. So what was that? So there's up in the helicopter. They're like, hey, we got a present for you. Blah 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 blah. The police helicopter and this woman.
Shining spotlight down there,
Yeah.
telling people to come out
Yeah.
with their pants down.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's got her pants down, mooning everyone.
Yes.
And it's is it a lady cop? Is it
Yes.
is it a stripper dressed as a cop?
Well, I don't know.
It's kind of silly. And honestly, Ruben Blades didn't seem that impressed. He was just
yeah,
like, whatever.
But Eric LaSalle was like, yeah. He was like giving the thumbs
He
up.
was.
Yeah.
He liked it.
Yeah, he did.
He liked Westworld. But that's the other thing. It's so stupid. They're so far fucking up there. Like, this movie has no sense of how far people can actually see detail.
Well, I don't know. I think I mean, a helicopter can lower itself.
It didn't look like it was that low.
I don't know. I mean, I think I don't know if anybody had the right lenses for this movie for every shot that they made.
Oh, well, that's something we should talk about.
Well, we'll get there in a minute. So, in the end, Bruce Willis starts seeing this lady. We also see her hanging out with. You're making notes.
Making
are you
notes.
psychoanalyzing me right now?
Yes. Yes.
We see her hanging out with Leslie Ann Warren, who's one of the Cuckoo Crazies, and she seems to be kind of like, she's doing a little bit of a British accent. She wants to do a little scissoring.
Maybe.
No, not maybe. Totally.
Wait, who does? Leslie Ann doesn't.
No.
Yeah.
Bonnie.
Yeah,
Bonnie is
Bonnie.
who she calls herself
Right.
in this situation.
For a nymphomaniac, Leslie Ann Warren's character is very,
Prudish.
very like specific about her orientation. She's
Yeah.
not really into women.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess you can say that
She makes the
nymphomaniacs
comment-
don't necessarily have to be
absolutely. You're absolutely right.
pansexual.
I know. That's true. That's true. She is very actually she makes the point that this woman is everything she would want in a man.
She wishes she was a man.
yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's so Rose.
So one would argue that she's falling in love with this woman, but isn't sexually attracted to her.
or isn't sure about that or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, let's get to the group because that's going to come in here.
That's the whole thing, man.
Sandra is Leslie Ann Warren. She's
Yeah.
the klepto-nympho.
Klepto-nympho, she would be most recognizable as Miss Scarlet from Clue.
Yep. Then we got Buck, the suicidal ex-cop.
Yep, this is Lance Hendrickson.
Hendrickson.
I don't think he needs any explanation.
Nope. We got Clark, who's OCD. That's Brad Dourif.
Brad Dourif.
Go no further than Billy Babbitt
Billy Babbitt.
from Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, yes. Oh, fuck yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Nominated for an Oscar for that.
Yep.
Casey, sadomasochist painter, who is Kevin J. O'Connor, who's also another Sexy September Lord of Illusions connection.
Well, not only him, but Scott Bakula.
Scott Bakula.
I mean,
yeah,
fuck.
Scott
I mean,
Bakula.
there's two of them in this movie.
It's like they went straight from this
to
Lord
Sexy
of-
September.
They're like, punch our cards, punch our tickets. We're going to
We're
Sexy
going with
September.
sexy.
No, well, that was not what I was going to say.
But yes, they're both in Lord of Illusions.
Then you have Richie, a 16-year-old boy who is who has social phobia and, as they indicated, gender identity issues. Also, a record of drug abuse.
Right. It's a very murky history.
It's a very murky history.
Very murky.
He's very
past.
temperamental,
Yeah.
and he claims that he cannot speak without the help of drugs.
He also is very clearly been made up and masked in some way by the production of this movie. It is clear they did not cast somebody who looks like Richie. They have made someone up to look like Richie.
Let's just fucking do it.
We should.
Okay, so Richie, the Richie that's in the group is not the quote unquote real Richie. The real Richie killed himself at age 12. Age 16 Richie in this group is actually Rose, who is also actually quote unquote Bonnie, who is Leslie Ann Warren's girlfriend. Also, Lance Hendrickson's girlfriend, Kevin J. O'Connor's muse.
Yeah.
I mean, he says he's in love with her, but he understands that she is not
doesn't-
in love with him.
Right.
And also Brad Dourif's girlfriend.
So they all talk about this woman that's been really important in their life recently, and it's all the same woman. It's Rose, who is also Richie.
Right. Which is interesting because if I was in a group setting and it's like, okay, so everybody talk about your loved ones. Talk about the person who's special in your life. And I'd be like, oh, well, yeah. It's like, oh, yeah. It's like I get this beautiful girlfriend. Her name is Sally.
Right.
Like a normal person
Right.
would. But they never
say her
mention her
name.
name. Which also bad on Rose for giving the same name in all of these scenarios when
Right.
she knows that she sees these people every day. She also is Rose to Scott Bakula. That's important to
Right.
note because Scott Bakula began photographing her
Right.
without clothes on.
She's Rose to Scott Bakula and to Bruce Willis. She's Bonnie to everyone in this group, and she's also Richie to everyone. Yes. So she has multiple personality disorder, and it's been brought on by the fact that her brother, after the trauma of actual Richie's death, has forced her into this gender role of being and taking over as the new Richie. And
This
he
movie's
said,
convoluted
and
as
he
fuck.
said something to her along the lines, or she said something, Rose said something. He made me do things that made me not want to be a woman again.
But then later, I think it was meeting this group and meeting Scott Bakula started bringing back her sexual identity.
Bringing back Rose.
But
Who she really
she
is.
also split into Bonnie for the benefit of these other people.
Yeah.
It's
Who
a
knows
weird thing,
why?
But so
It's
it basically so. I don't know. So it's like there's this guardian who kills everybody, or who kills people who get too close to Rose. He's mad at Rose because she's coming back out into the surface.
right. He's trying to suppress Rose and keep Richie.
Keep Richie, because I guess he's like, girls are gross and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
Molested her
Yeah.
as Richie.
As Richie or as Rose?
As Richie, I thought.
That's murky as hell. Who knows?
But there's a lot of psychosexual bullshit going on here. Okay, so it's the Guardian who did it.
The Guardian is
Fuck
the
off.
killer.
Yeah, Guardian.
And Rose is actually a victim.
We've talked 35 minutes about this fucking bullshit movie. I don't think we need to belabor this movie much because we got problems to talk about.
Yeah, all right. Let's talk about this.
We got to psychobabble this movie.
Well, let's talk about what we think this movie is trying to be. As I think it's a couple things. I think it is trying to capitalize on the 90s erotic thriller.
Yep.
For sure.
It's definitely capitalizing on sexuality as a psychological state.
Yes. It's trying to also it's a little bit exploitative of just sort of not fringe sexuality, but I don't know, fetish, like with the sadomasochist.
There's a sadomasochist and a nympho, and there's certainly a little bit of touching upon. These are, because here's the thing, it's like the sadomasochist is an artist who paints sadomasochistic images,
right?
Who has daddy issues, who is his father is rich, pays for his art loft,
yeah,
in downtown Los Angeles or San Francisco.
As long as he goes to therapy.
No, was it San Francisco or Los Angeles? Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
As long as he goes to therapy, which means that his father thinks that his fetish is a deviancy.
Right. Yeah.
That's got to be what
but
it
his
is.
art is all based on his fetish.
And it's good art.
It's pretty good.
It's
yeah.
pretty good art.
So,
I'd buy it.
But anyway, it's definitely
buy a
capitalizing
book
on
of it.
some sort of like what you would be classified in the mainstream as weird sexuality, right?
Yeah, a bunch of weirdos.
But and so there's that element happening, but there's also, I don't know, I picked it up pretty early on watching it. It feels to me like one of the worst Dario Argento movies ever made. It's trying to be an Italian giallo.
Yeah, because it's using color, it's using shot composition, it's using psychosexual stuff, it's using what was the other thing that we said? It's like
Defenestration.
Defenestration. That's definitely a Dario Argento thing. It's using
some of the imagery just of the deaths, like Scott Bakula arched back over the glass door,
and the glass
impaled him. I mean, that is so fucking giallo. Yeah, it's deep red. The image at the beginning of the glass shot underneath the body that had just hit the ground. I mean, that asphalt's view of the blood running is giallo.
Right.
Just the whole aspect of like a colorblind, someone who can't see the color of blood.
Which
me it just screams Italian horror.
But the biggest crime though, in no way does that pay off. There is no purpose for him not being able to see red. Like you would think, it's like, oh my God, he's following, like in a well-crafted movie where this is a plot point, he would be following a car that he believes is the killer.
Yeah. And
the car is red. Or no, the car is gray, and he thinks it's a red. Yeah, because he can't see red.
Right. There's none of that. There's none of that confusion.
Right. There's no there's one point in which they kind of touch upon it where he thinks he is in a puddle of gray paint.
Yeah.
But it's but it's blood.
It's blood.
When Kevin J. O'Connor was killed.
Yeah.
Even the reveal of of him hanging dead, cut open, is a giallo piece.
Yeah.
The cutting out of the faces of
most
Bonnie
definitely.
in his paintings is a giallo thing. That whole apartment is giallo.
Yeah. But the problem that we had is like nothing really blended well.
Nothing is right. It's like there's plenty of stuff here to decipher and to dissect. And like I said while we were watching, it's like there's stuff here that can be used.
I think the only thing that there is to dissect is how it could have been better.
Right, because first of all,
almost every decision that's made in this movie is wrong.
yeah, it's like, and the thing is, it's like, okay, number one, there's a lot of goofy shit that shouldn't be here. For example, there's no way in hell, number one plot hole, no way in hell that Bruce Willis should be able to take over the group. He's not licensed to do so.
Ludicrous.
And those 4 or 5 people in that group should have been like, I'm fucking out.
Right.
They had every right to not go to him, except for Richie, who was court ordered to be there.
Right.
Okay. 2, although maybe Leslie Ann Warren, because if she got caught stealing something, she'd probably have to. Maybe, but that's not. That was mentioned.
But that's not who they were court ordered to go see.
Right.
I mean, that is a completely fucking colossal stupidity.
Right. Which leads to colossal stupidity number 2. There's no way in hell that he can live at Scott Bakula's home.
You're telling me that Scott Bakula has no beneficiary. He's got no family that's going to become. There's no
He
fucking
has an ex-wife.
There's no fucking funeral in this movie.
No.
Like it's just Scott Bakula gets murdered and Bruce Willis takes over.
Yeah.
He just inserts him into his life and crashes his fucking car.
Here's a thought. Well, no, he didn't crash his car.
Yeah, he did.
Jane March crashed the car.
Well, they crashed together. But
No.
that wasn't even Jane Marsh.
Yeah.
No, when he drove up on the fuck, who cares?
No. I know what you're talking about. That was because he was being chased by Killer Man.
Right.
That's not his fault.
But he still crashed his car.
Because Killer Man's
It
trying to
doesn't
kill
matter.
him.
He's driving his buddy's car around, crashing it.
Yeah.
He shouldn't even be driving it. Shouldn't be living at the house. How do you even get the alarm code, Jeff? How do you even get the alarm code?
Well, he was staying there for the week. Now forever. So the day after he's dead, right? It's like Reuben Blades. Hello. Hey, I need to search this guy's place because he's a fucking murder victim. And at first we were like, he doesn't have a fucking right to do that. And it's like, Bruce Willis, like, you got a search warrant, blah, 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 blah.
He's like, no, I don't. But do you want me to solve your buddy's murder or not?
And then I thought about it, and it's like, yeah, that's right. It's like Bruce Willis is squatting. Yeah. This guy has been murdered.
Bruce Willis has no legal right to shit.
The cop would still go into the house.
Yeah.
So yeah. So and then Bruce Willis just lives there.
Yeah. For the rest of the movie. And for the rest of the movie, and who knows into the future.
I mean, if I were him, I'd take Jane March back to New York, and it's like, you need to leave this shit behind. I'll get you some help out here. And by help, I mean Deep Dickens.
Oh, my dick.
My dick in your Janie Marchie.
Oh. But yeah. So
that's
stupid thing number 2.
That's stupid thing number 2. Stupid thing number 3 is that he's driving around in his car. We talked about that. So he basically has completely and totally taken over his life. Stupid thing number 4 is that the cop is relying too much on him than doing the actual investigation.
The cop, you don't see the cop doing any investigation
until the final act of the movie.
And only investigation you see him do is talk to Bruce Willis.
A good giallo would have the cop show up at the moment of the murder, start asking pointed questions about shit, and then at the end, the whole time he is your enemy.
Yeah.
And at the end, he proves himself to be your friend.
Right.
That's how giallos work.
Now, he does show up at the end to sort of save the day, but yeah, and then that devolves into this weird comedic moment at the very end of the movie where Bruce Willis and Jane March are at the top of the building that she almost falls off of. And it's all like, oh, yeah, we're safe. And then you hear Ruben Blades, like, because he got shot by a nail gun in his hand.
Oh, that's stupid thing number 5.
Nail guns
the
don't work that
overuse
way?
of nail guns do not work this way. They are not guns. You put a nail gun up to the thing you want to nail and pull the trigger. You don't shoot them from across the fucking room 20 feet away.
Yeah, they don't have that kind of accuracy.
They would arch and then
Yeah.
and it would lose all of its trajectory and all of its velocity about 5 feet from being launched.
But that's not cinematic.
Also, nail gun was never used before until the final 5 minutes of the movie. If this was a nail gun massacre, which is the name of a movie, but no, seriously, if this was a thing where it's like all these people were killed by nail guns, and then all of a sudden, like, it kept building to this moment where this guy shows up and is like, haha, I'm like
I've
the
got a
fucking
nail
6-gun
gun.
shooter with a nail gun.
Yeah. Oh, you're the killer.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh,
He's got a nail gun. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Another thing I would have liked, turn Jane March into a sexy construction worker and have her using a nail gun on the site.
With just a tool belt on.
Yes.
And nothing.
Well, no.
A tool belt and a hard hat
No.
and nothing else on.
No. All she needs is her work boots, those high top work boots, and bib overalls, like the short ones. Nothing else. Pass the Geoff rule.
Sexy September, everyone. So what else is stupid about this movie? The whole way that group therapy is conducted.
Oh my god.
So I don't.
We talked
I'm not
a lot
trained,
about
I'm not a
this.
trained psychiatrist or psychologist or behavioralist or shrink, but I feel like if you are, as a profession,
And this is not dealing with people in a mental hospital.
Right.
Let's clear that.
if you are a private practice that you have patients for, that number one, it would be really difficult for them to agree to a group therapy situation when they all have drastically different issues.
Right. Again, let me read off the different issues. You have a klepto/nympho. That's one person. Then you have social phobia minor with gender identity issues.
16 years old. Yeah.
A suicidal ex-cop who's dealing with fucking being suicidal.
Right. His wife and kid were killed in a robbery attempt.
A man who's lost his job, or at least on leave for being OCD.
Yeah, he's a lawyer who got kicked out of his firm for being weird and OCD, basically.
For being Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
That's what it comes out to.
Sure.
And then you have a sadomasochistic painter. First and foremost, I have found 3 asterisks that I'm putting next to 3 groups or 3 people in this group that I have a very serious issue with all being in the same room for the same treatment.
Before you tell me why, the only possible way I can rationalize these people all being in the same group is this. It's the fact that Scott Bakula is a celebrity shrink.
Okay.
And that he may have a method that these people have bought into or have been ordered into legally that he is experimenting with.
A suicidal ex-cop would not be ordered legally into shit.
No, I said or because he is a celebrity shrink, they want him as their shrink.
Okay.
And his method is this thing, right?
Okay. So
But that all gets fucking dumped on the minute that Scott Bakula dies.
Yes.
Because Bruce Willis would not have been trained in that method.
Right. Scott Bakula is a celebrity psychiatrist because he wrote a book called
What the
Way
hell
to
is it
Go.
called? Way to Go. Yeah.
Way to Go.
Way to go.
And it's like way with one arrow going one way, 2 with an arrow going the other way, and go the opposite. Anyway.
What was our $1 million idea? We had $1 million idea when we were talking about that. Like we could create
I'm
our
a little
own.
drunk now.
We could create our own celebrity self-help book.
Oh, yeah, I remember what it is.
Yeah.
No, I don't. But I remember. Oh, no. Learning to lose.
Learning to
because
lose.
you can't win them all.
Yeah, because you can't win them all. So
Random House, call me up.
Yeah, so we feel like we could easily write 100 pages
Of
in
gobbledygook.
crayon on that topic.
Draw little pictures of people
And sell
like
it,
winning
yeah.
and not winning and like sad because they lost, but then also being happy because they tried.
Right. But that's the thing. Like Scott Bakula is actually super rich on the back of this book.
Right. And while I'm not going to, because they don't actually talk about what's in the book, I can't speak to the legitimacy of this.
That's just my theory.
But well, you could be right. It could be, look, when you boil it down, everybody has the same root issue.
Sure.
So let's work through that.
Way to go.
Way to go.
Yeah.
But
but Bruce Willis.
is just a straight psychiatrist.
Yeah.
One-on-one. Now, I'm sure he's had groups. I mean, I don't think you can be a psychiatrist without training with a group setting.
But he's already also super irresponsible and unprofessional at this point because he has no business taking this group over,
He
especially
does
with
ask
a
them-
conflict of interest.
especially in Scott Bakula's office.
In Scott Bakula's office, where he also suspects, and Scott Bakula had suspected, that one of the people in this group was his killer.
Yeah.
So it's already fucking ludicrous that the cop was telling him to continue the group, and then the cop, I think, thought better of it and said, "Why are you still doing this? You're in danger."
Right,
But
but we
Bruce
never saw
Willis
the cop
is like, "Well, I'm
reconsider
gonna
it."
keep doing the group."
You're right. So
All of that is stupid. That's very
Yes.
stupid.
now,
It does not make a good foundation for an interesting movie.
well, I think they think it does.
They do.
I think
they
it's-
think
there was a movement in the 90s when almost every one of we've already seen it with Basic Instinct.
sure.
There is a psychosexual element, and they think the Hollywood thought you had the mind is sexy. The idea of getting into somebody's head is just as sexy as getting into their
Well, everyone wanted to
fucking bed.
make this psychological thriller. Everyone wanted to make fucking Silence of the Lambs. I mean, they all did.
but with boobies
Right.
and a little bit of Bush.
Yes, there's been Bush.
We've seen Bush today. We've been drinking Bush beer,
We have.
which is like drinking water. It's
Pretty
shit
much.
is fucking
But that's the thing.
barely
I think
yellow.
I think Silence of the Lambs is the inspiration, if you will.
Well, here's the thing
For
about
that.
Silence of the Lambs that I think helps that. Hannibal Lecter was not our villain.
Mm-hmm.
He was a very dangerous and deadly man who we sided with and actually rooted for killing his captor at the end of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it's already getting into the idea of playing with who we side with, and then ultimately who we build some sort of relationship through.
Well, it manipulates you a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. So this movie tried to manipulate you, but the problem is that it wasn't really fun the way it tried to manipulate you.
and it was a
And it was
flimsy,
really flimsy and thin.
Right.
Yeah. You could see through it so easily.
right.
Which is why it's so much different than Basic Instinct. Whereas with Basic Instinct, you kind of have a good sense of sort of what's happening, or you think you do, but you don't. You never really feel like you're on level ground in Basic Instinct. It does a good job of keeping you
You're always
confused.
you're always climbing up towards the resolution, but then the axis shifts at some point, and now you have to climb your way back up the other direction.
Yeah, it's almost like you fall down a couple of rungs, and
Right.
then you come and you want to climb back up.
Right.
With this movie, it tries to do that.
Is-
I think,
well,
but
and-
you just stop fucking caring. To be
yeah,
honest.
and it's like you want to see the next sexy scene where Jane March's tits out, or are we ever gonna actually see like Leslie Ann Warren going down on Jane March, or vice versa? Because I kind of wanted to see that too. But so my asterisks.
yeah, your asterisks.
I, during the movie, took great exception and great concern about the idea of having a nymphomaniac and a sadomasochist together in the same group. And you explain your reasoning why you were kind of okay with that.
I mean, to me, so I think of maybe if you have a group of sex addicts together, right? They all really basically want the same type of treatment. They don't want to be so invested in or reliant on their giving into those urges, right? So to me, it kind of feels like a sadomasochist and a sex addict would go hand in hand. I don't know. I'm not a fucking trained shrink from FU, but those two didn't really feel like they were as incongruent as some of the other parents.
Well, and here's the thing: the reason why I was concerned about it was that,
and let's be honest, like a sadomasochist, I don't know that that's even necessarily something that you need therapy for.
no, it's just a kink. It's a kink that is most of the time kinks and fetishes are considered pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean,
what I had
to
mentioned,
me, it felt like he was an artist who expressed himself pretty healthily. His art is
even at the risk of being a dick.
his
at
art is
times.
dark. He's
Yeah.
not a nice guy, but he's not a danger to anyone. I don't even think he's a danger to himself.
No,
So
but-
he's living, I think, a life that maybe other people would turn their nose up at, but it works for him.
Yeah.
He's really only there because his daddy is going to cut him off,
Right.
if he doesn't go.
Right. Which
So-
his dad thinks he's a deviant.
Right.
Now, my concern is, okay, well, what if he does want to seek help? Like, he's like, man, I just want to have a normal relationship, but I can't get off because
Right.
of this stuff. Right. Well, okay, so a kink or a fetish is not the same as nymphomania.
Right.
It is an expression of your sexuality or your sexual preference or
Right.
whatever.
Yep.
It is not what nymphomania is actually sex addiction, which could be considered a disease. So first of all,
she cannot control her.
right, but
sexual
having
urges.
those two people, my concern was having those two people together is they're not helping each other.
Fair.
If he is asking for help with his sadomasochism and she's asking for help for sex addiction, having them together seems like it's like I don't think that sex addicts would be in a group setting.
They do, yeah.
But that's weird because why aren't they just going off and fucking each other constantly
Well,
and being happy about it?
that's the whole fucking point of the movie Choke or the book Choke by Chuck Palahniuk. Is he's a sex addict and he goes to group therapy with other sex addicts and that's where he fucking hooks up with other people is because they're all sex addicts.
But that doesn't seem to be helping anything.
But I don't think that's.
I mean, it'd be
I don't
like-
think. I don't think that's the normal.
It'd be like-
I mean, it's Chuck Palahniuk novel.
Yeah,
It's
I
not the normal thing. But
I mean, it'd be like saying it's like, man, I got a real bad heroin addiction, so I'm gonna go seek help at the heroin house where I go pick up my shit.
But the right to the point though is that heroin addicts do have group therapy together. Alcoholics have therapy together.
yes, you
I
don't
mean-
you don't go to the local rec center or the local church or the whatever the town hall or whatever and sign up for a group that you don't have the problem for.
But yes. So the point I think that we're trying to make, regardless of of our argument of who should be with who in therapy, is that these people have widely different problems.
Yeah, because the
and
other
they're
people in the
all
group-
and they're
it's
all
like-
in the same group together.
The OCD guy and the suicidal person don't have any common ground. They don't have common ground with the sex addict.
I made the comment-
They don't have common ground with the sadomasochist.
I made the comment that in all of these sessions where Bruce Willis is just asking them to talk about themselves and asking them bullshit questions, there in no way, shape, or form is there any sort of coping mechanisms that are being discussed for Brad Dourif
Yeah,
and his
let's just
OCD.
talk it out.
There's none of that. It's
Yeah.
all like conflict therapy, which
is not
which
is not an ultimate problem solver.
and it's horseshit when none of these people can relate to one another.
Right. Because absolutely, Lance Henriksen has lived with basically the story of why he's suicidal. He had a wife and a daughter, young daughter. He decides to pull over to help somebody who flagged them down in a bad neighborhood, and he tells his wife, "It's fine. Our daughter's asleep. I'm a cop. I can handle it. Whatever."
Right.
he gets like knocked out or something, and she gets killed, and the daughter gets killed by the guy, and they make off with $31 cash money.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of that, Ruben Blades' character is fucking his wife. So he never got the opportunity to forgive her. And as he said later, I decided to forgive Hector.
Him, because I couldn't forgive her.
Right.
So two things about that.
But nobody else has anything that comes
Not
anywhere
even
near
close.
that.
Like he needs to be in like some sort of
Private therapy.
some sort of private, like post-traumatic stress therapy. He needs to be in grieving therapy with other people who are grieving the death of a child. I mean, he needs so many things that he's not getting in this group.
There's nobody. Leslie Ann Warren's talking about fucking her personal trainer, which you get the impression that she does at some point in the movie.
Oh yeah.
That's not. What does that help in Lance Henry other than? Oh, gee, I used to get laid.
There's also another thing here. The whole Ruben Blades Lance Hendrickson connection is a point of convolution that is completely unnecessary. It's 20 minutes of plot we don't need.
Well, it's all meant to who's the killer,
Right.
blah blah blah. It could be Lance Henriksen. He's got a car that's got bullet holes in it, and the car that was trying to kill Bruce Willis at one point is there also, but I think he repairs cars or
Yeah, I
something,
think so.
or he runs a junkyard or something.
Yeah.
That's not explained, but it's meant to misdirect you.
Yeah,
That
it's all
doesn't-
misdirect.
It doesn't. It ends up wasting. It ends up burning up that runtime.
It does, though, give Lance Hendrickson two moments of pretty
real
pretty
acting?
good acting. Yeah,
Yeah.
like when he is telling Bruce Willis about the murder of his death child, Lance Hendrickson is on his game.
Yeah.
Like
Lance
like
Henriksen
Bruce Willis
shows up
Bruce
and does
Willis
his job.
looks like a fucking weirdo like robot, but Lance Hendrickson is on his game in that scene. He's not getting anything from Bruce, but he's on his game. And then the scene where he explains that he forgave Ruben Blades because he couldn't forgive his wife was a pretty touching scene.
Sure.
But it's fucking like these are flimsiest of straws that I'm grasping for here
Right.
in this movie.
Now, my biggest problem with the group is that, okay, so you've got a suicidal person who should be in private therapy. You have an OCD person who should probably be...
He should be in like occupational therapy.
Occupational
he doesn't
therapy.
need to
He
be
doesn't
in
need
this
to be-
heavy fucking shit.
Right. Unless that was a stipulation to get his job back, that he has to go to this guy.
Oh, yeah,
I don't
maybe,
know. But still, it's Bruce Willis now, not Scott Bakula.
Right.
And you've got a sex addict and a sadomasochist, both sexual issues,
Yep.
in the same room with a minor.
With a minor.
That is absolutely not going to ever happen.
Yeah.
Period. Fucking period. I don't care what you say. I don't care if you say, well, technically it's like, okay, well, if the minor has gender, issues, then yeah, there is a sexual element. No. They would never be in the same room together.
They would not.
It would be so potentially dangerous because now,
Not only
granted,
that,
as
not
you
only
said,
that, but if she's a juvenile, she's been
well, it's a he.
or he. Sorry, yeah.
We'll get there.
He has been directed by the court to go to group therapy. It would be at minimum, if it weren't one-on-one therapy, but with other minors.
It would be at a juvenile hall or juvenile
Right.
hall. It would not. It would be in juvie.
But
as we would say.
the whole thing that they say that he is supposed to be here for is because of drugs, and they never really talk about like sale of drugs, use
Right.
of drugs, fuck drugs. And if you were the brother who wants him out of the therapy because he knows Rose is causing problems, that's the first thing
Rose
you would
slash
do.
Bonnie.
The first thing you would do is like, well, he shouldn't be in this group. I mean, appeal to the fucking rational nature of the courts here.
Right,
Because
it's like,
why is he
why
here
is he
in the
here with-
first place?
We have a confirmed nymphomaniac and confirmed sadomasochist by their own admission. I don't know if that sadomasochist is potentially a rapist or a potential whatever. I don't know that the nymphomaniac, because this is a boy, quote unquote, wouldn't try to be positioning or propositioning anything. Seems like all of this would be shaky ground, and a court would immediately, even in what seems to be the dark ages of the 90s nowadays, 20 some years ago, almost 25 years ago, a court even then would have been like, whoa,
Yeah.
no, this child should not
It's
be here.
probably too heavy. Yeah.
Now, granted, if the child was tried as an adult, then there could be some adult related penalty.
But he wouldn't have
But
a
it wouldn't-
guardian at that point.
He wouldn't have a guardian,
Yep.
but he has a guardian.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't- that's,
So it's
that's-
all horseshit.
That's horseshit.
It's horseshit the movie.
Horseshit the movie. Color of Night
With
is
some
horseshit.
with some hexy stuff, some sexy stuff.
Some sexy stuff.
Some sexy stuff.
Well, you could say hexy stuff because like Jane March, so kind of like just comes in and casts her spell on everybody.
She does.
Me included.
She did. She got you. You would have been
I would-
totally sucker.
Fuck yeah, I
You would
would've-
have been done. I would have looked
she
at her.
doesn't
I
wear
would've
much
looked, I would have
clothing.
looked at her toothy mouth and I'm like, nope.
Yeah. Number
Nope.
one, she
Nope.
doesn't wear much clothing. She wears the bare minimum to get service at McDonald's. Perfect. 2, she's kooky as shit. Dude, Bruce Willis, get in on that. Crazy chicks fucked awesomely. Awesomely. Get in on that. So, anyway, it feels like this movie is written by somebody who doesn't know how like you said, law enforcement or psychiatry works.
Mm-hmm.
It's directed by somebody who isn't informed by the script, by what these people should be, how they should be reacting, except for you got guys like Lance Henriksen and Leslie Ann Warren and Brad Dourif who know what they're doing. They're coming in, they're doing their thing. Kevin J. O'Connor is perfect as the jerk guy, whatever. But it's so...
It's like if
just-
somebody,
there's-
it's like if somebody, like an alien, watched Dario Argento's Deep Red, Hitchcock's Psycho, or maybe one of his later movies, like his English horror film that he made late in his career. I can't remember the name of it. And then also watched.
Basic Instinct.
Basic Instinct, or even I was gonna say like De Palma's Raising Cain again, or something like that, right?
Sure.
Like and watch those movies and then try to interpret them into a movie that incorporated all elements of it and missed all the points.
Yeah, it's like, well, it would be like, okay, so the studio comes to you and say, Jason, here's what we need. We need a movie that has we need a story that includes the following things. It's set in the 50s.
It's checklist filmmaking.
Right. It's set in the 50s. We have a black male falling in love with a white girl.
Okay.
And vice versa. We have a gay person on the football team. We have it's set in a high school setting.
Okay.
Okay. Also, it's a high school setting. We have a politician who...
These are pretty specific checklists.
Right.
Yeah.
But can you check any of those things off? Do you know how to write any of those things?
Right. No.
Effectively, at least.
No.
I mean, like you could write a relationship between two males or two, but you wouldn't know.
I see what you're saying.
Right,
I see what the experiment is.
It's like saying we want this.
Yeah.
We want sexy thriller.
Yeah.
But then giving it to somebody who has no idea why Basic Instinct works.
Yeah. So let's talk about who made this movie a little bit. I don't know who these fucking screenwriters are. Billy Ray and Matthew Chapman.
None of them. I can tell you what they ain't. Psychiatrists.
Billy Ray seems to be still active. He was writing the screenplay adaptation of The Devil in the White City, which makes me really worried about that movie now.
I have no idea what that is.
It's the H.H. Holmes movie, Chicago World's Fair, that Scorsese is going to direct with Leonardo DiCaprio. Really cool idea, but the fact that guy's writing it, I don't know. Matthew Chapman.
That name sounds familiar. I must be thinking of another Chapman or another.
A bunch of horse shit. He did the screenplay to Runaway Jury. I mean, Consenting Adults. There you go. That's another Sexy September.
Yeah. Okay.
Not much there. But
It sounds
but
like
the
maybe
real,
one of them had a first draft and the other one rewrote it or
yeah,
something.
or they, it was like you said, a checklist screenplay. I mean,
It's like we've got something that we can start with. How do we get it sold? We need X, Y, and Z. Go get Matthew Chapman, who knows how to put the
who
sexy
knows,
stuff
man.
in.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's a story. Maybe the producer came to them with, a story. By the way, the producer's last name is Vajna.
Yeah.
Fucking perfect. A1, fucking A+.
But the real interesting creative party here is the director. The director is Richard Rush. Now, Richard Rush, this was his last movie that he made. Richard Rush is still alive. He's about 90 years old. And this was the last movie he ever made. He actually had a heart attack not long after this movie, and I think
Probably from the reviews.
probably. And it really, I don't know.
I
Who
blame
knows
you,
why.
Roger Ebert.
But he retired basically after this movie. The movie he made before this was Air America in 1990. That was what was that? Robert Downey Jr. and Mel Gibson. Yeah, kind of a fun, stupid movie.
Sure.
But the movie he made before that was 1980's The Stuntman, which is a pretty fucking like good sort
Oh, I
of like
remember that stuff.
it's sort of a drive-in kind of a cult film, I guess you call it Stuntman. It's good. But he also, going back into his early career, he did the movies Hell's Angels on Wheels and Psych Out.
Both of which were Jack Nicholson.
Both, yeah, and sort of like that counterculture filmmaking in the late 60s, early 70s, that American New Wave, I guess is what they called it, yeah. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, the guy made good movies, made sort of dangerous, culturally significant movies, you could argue, and he ended his career with Color of Night, so sucks to be him.
Yeah, bummer.
Yeah.
A couple of other notes that I have here. First of all, something that has been sadly overlooked in our last episode. There was an amazing car chase.
Yes.
With Sharon Stone's Lotus and Michael Douglas's shitty ass cop car.
So that was his cop car, right? Because he's
Yeah,
he's
'cause
driving his
personal
Mustang
car
later.
was a Mustang.
That's a detail that you don't see very often because he's no longer allowed to drive his cop car anymore, so he's driving his shitty Mustang
yeah.
later. Yeah.
Then this movie also has an awesome chase scene.
It really does.
In which Bruce Willis and another Mustang? No, it was a Camaro.
It was Camaro.
A Camaro.
The
or
red
a Trans
Camaro,
Am,
right?
one or the other.
Yeah. Bitchin' Camaro.
Yeah. And so they it's like he's getting chased by somebody who calls him on his car phone and like has this really creepy
Like,
Dario Argento deep red voice thing going
like
on.
kind of mechanical, weird, like voice manipulation thing. It's bizarre.
And then it ultimately ends up in a couple of different ways. Or there's two chases, actually. The first one with the red Camaro ends with attempted murder by Bruce Willis because he basically lures the red Camaro to
A train track.
To a train track. He stops right after the train track and basically is backing
puts
up
the car in reverse
while the other car is going in drive.
Right, to keep the car on the track
the train
while
track.
oncoming train is coming. Yeah.
And which, of course, basically playing chicken.
Yeah.
Then, which is very similar to Basic Instinct because the other car chase is Michael Douglas versus Hot Girlfriend.
Yeah.
Which ends with Hot Girlfriend going off the ravine playing chicken.
Right. Yep.
The other car chase is so Jane March realizes the jig is up and she's got to go. And
she jumps in a RAV4.
RAV4.
Yeah.
Product placement probably. And then like he's following her and he ends up like basically getting on basically stopping on the sidewalk on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Oh yeah, that's when I was saying he just wrecked a car. Yeah.
Right, which is long after a couple of other circumstances
Yeah.
in which weren't his fault.
Right.
Then So
But
car
there's-
chase.
there's
the
this
car
really-
chase is awesome.
There's this
Both of
really
them.
amazing. Yeah, both car chases are top notch.
and they are legitimately like I was invested. It's like,
Yeah.
ooh, what's gonna happen? What's going on?
And
there was one point where the Camaro also pushes a car off of a garage.
Oh yeah,
to
yeah.
try to
Oh,
land
God.
on
and
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis does this fucking hokey as shit. Like, oh no, slow
And, like,
motion! I'm
slow
gonna
motion
jump onto this mattress that you can't see under the fucking shot frame.
Yeah.
That's stupid. But the car sequence in Basic Instinct is like weaving in and out of traffic, going like really windy interstate roads. It's harrowing. Like it's
and all that shit
and it's
outside
totally
of San Francisco is
irresponsible.
scary as shit.
It's totally irresponsible, like driving on the part of Michael Douglas, and it's like just stop, dude, just stop. And the whole time you just want him to fucking stop
Right.
because he's gonna kill himself or somebody else. And then there's a moment in the car chase. It's the second one, I think, in Color of Night, where the car, I forget whose car it is. Is it Jane March's car, or Bruce Willis's that runs into the truck that's got the guy in the back cab?
Oh yeah, no, that was the Camaro.
Okay,
the Camaro.
So
hit
the
that.
Camaro hits, it kind of skids through the light and side swipes this truck, and it looks like it's got.
And there's like a guy in the
There's
back.
a guy in the
It's
back
like
of the
a day
truck.
worker.
Day worker, yeah, yeah, and it's got like rakes and shit, and
Yeah,
stuff,
like,
all this,
fuck, it's
and
like-
it hits it. I mean, and he
it's a
actually-
well done stunt.
it gets knocked off his feet and onto
Yeah.
his ass in the back of this truck, and
Yeah.
it looks really
And
good.
all of his rakes fall out.
Yeah.
It's fucking
yeah,
fantastic.
it's really good.
The other thing that happens in the Jane March chase, or it might have been in the first one with the Camaro, but Bruce Willis plows through a cart full of groceries.
Yes,
love it.
that's the RAV4 one, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
I love that shit. Groceries everywhere.
So
Poor
this-
lady
so-
got all of her groceries wrecked.
So this movie was made for about $10 million less than Basic Instinct.
Right. Basic Instinct was about 50
was
million.
about $50 million, and it made what, about 350 million
Something like
worldwide?
worldwide,
something like
yeah.
that. This movie was made for $40 million, and it made $20 million worldwide.
And
it is a massive failure.
Here's the thing. I've said it before. Say it again. It's the little things.
Yep.
It's when you have a story that you can at least connect dots to. It doesn't have to be a perfect story. Although I would contend that Basic Instinct is way underrated in critic appeal. I mean, I think it was it ends up basically getting like a 53% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is rotten. I think that's way
I think
too
that's
low.
way too low. Yeah.
I think a lot of that is not yet adjusting to what the 90s would ultimately bring with a little bit more open acceptance of things. Or it might have been people who were bowing to some of the controversy.
Yeah.
On the other hand, this movie is utter garbage.
Well, you know what's interesting too? This movie comes really, if you really want to analyze it, it comes at it's like the fifth or sixth straight failure from Bruce Willis at the box office. Like it
before
is,
Pulp Fiction.
yeah. So before Pulp Fiction. So let's think about this through. So we had Die Hard 2 in 1990.
Oh, that was huge.
Yeah. So, but after that, he did the Look Who's Talking movies. He
Those
Looks-
did well.
Those don't really count.
He's not on screen there.
Bonfire of the Vanities, massive bomb.
failure.
Mortal Thoughts, I don't even know what the fuck that is.
I remember that. That was
Hudson
another.
Hawk, fun movie, but bomb.
Oh, it was a massive. That was a costly failure.
Yep. Billy Bathgate, I don't really remember that one.
Oh, Billy Bathgate had Dustin Hoffman in it.
Oh, yeah.
It was a smaller movie.
Yeah.
So whatever.
The
It's
Last
not-
Boy Scout, fun movie again, bomb. I don't think that movie made it.
It captured its audience on video,
Death Becomes Her, a modest hit, I think.
but certainly more Meryl Streep and Goldie
Right.
Hawn's movie.
Right. He is not the focus there. Striking Distance, I think probably a bomb.
It was probably one of those that was released off season that just get whatever you can
So
out
that
of it.
was 1990 through 1993 for Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis, not really a hot commodity at this point after all of those shitty movies.
No.
So Color of Night comes out in 94. Yeah.
You're close to being out of the business.
Yeah. And then he makes North the same year, which he's just the narrator, but that is a bomb too.
Okay.
So really, when Pulp Fiction hits
He
right after
desperately
that,
needed
he
that.
desperately needed it, and it saved his career. I mean, you look at the
Because then Die Hard with a Vengeance
Die Hard
did
with a
moderately
Vengeance,
well.
12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys
Last
is
Man Standing is a fun as fuck movie.
yeah.
He's the voice of Muddy Grimes in Beavis and Butthead Do America, which is a fun choice.
Well, and that made a ton of money.
Yeah, The Fifth Element, huge hit.
Huge hit.
The Jackal was a modest hit.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, it was off season, but it collected what it could.
The Mercury Rising was not a hit at all. That was a bomb. But then he made fucking Armageddon,
which is a gigantic
so
hit.
he rose right back to the top.
Right. And then after the turn of the century, not so good.
Well, I mean, he's hit or miss, right?
Hit or miss.
I mean, he made the huge hit Sixth Sense, the year
Sure.
the year after Armageddon. I mean,
Right,
Armageddon
but
Sixth Sense was amazing.
But in 2000s, though,
After
that's
that,
where
though.
it gets spotty.
Yeah, I mean, you've got
basically.
shit.
I think he made himself able from Armageddon and Sixth Sense back to back. Basically, was able to retire on.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a situation now after the Sixth Sense. He hasn't made a movie since that is truly hit on that level. You've got The Whole Nine Yards, which was kind of a fun movie. 2000, I think it made a good money, but that was more of a Matthew Perry vehicle.
Oh yeah.
The Disney's a Kid, I think, was okay, but it's whatever. Unbreakable was a bomb, but it's a great movie.
Well, he's got a chance to come back now. It's got a built-in audience.
Right. Bandits was a bomb, but a good movie. Heart's War was a bomb, but a decent horror movie. Tears of the Sun, I don't remember well. Another war movie. Whole 10 Yards, so he did the sequel to The Whole 9 Yards. Hostage, I think, was a modestly decent box office performer. And Sin City was...
Oh, Sin City was good. But that was an ensemble type, because he only played a part of a story in that.
And then really since then, he's just been playing kind of little side roles up until like the Live Free or Die Hard sequel, which is garbage.
But well enough to make a fifth one.
Yeah. Some cameos like in Expendables and Red and stuff like that. His role in Moonrise. He's kind of become sort of like a sideshow a little bit. But then Looper in 2012.
Yeah. That's a little bit more like 12 Monkeys, right?
A little bit, yeah. Looper was a legitimate hit for its budget.
Yeah.
So he's kind of been just up and down since, but he'll never. I mean, you get to a certain age.
But again, I think it's Armageddon and Sixth Sense back to back.
That's
retirement.
This could have been the last nail in his coffin.
Could have been.
But Tarantino saved his career. I mean,
you could have said it's like, okay, at this point, Bruce, we can only have you in Die Hard movie, like
right.
I mean, or direct to video type Charlie Bronson type stuff.
Yep, exactly. Who knows? He could have been
fucking Charlie. He was fucking Death Wish recently.
Yeah, fucking A.
Which did,
but
I think as well as that movie.
Who knows? He could have been making direct to video Die Hard movies.
Sure.
In the late '90s.
Yeah, I mean, as much
Not
as
that they were any better, the ones he did make,
Well,
other than Vengeance,
but Fox knows that was at least a marketable
property.
I mean, they could have kept pumping those out, and they still do.
They do, and they will continue to.
Yeah, especially in this day and age. They'll reboot it before too long when Bruce Willis doesn't want to do another one.
Yep.
It's just like, hey, where's Chris Pratt? Yeah, he'll do it.
Well, they tried to set up Jai Courtney as his kid to do them, That's like the whole thing now, is like passing the torch or something,
You know what? Sometimes it's just
Was it
okay.
Jai Courtney? I think it was.
I don't remember. I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know. It's okay to let something just fade into, I mean, it's okay. It's okay.
If Geoff weren't sitting in his apartment, he'd spit on the ground right now. He's like,
they haven't remade Creature from the Black Lagoon, really. So where's that at?
oh, you haven't heard about that?
What?
That was a thing for a while. I forget who it was.
I mean, okay, we got Shape of Water, okay,
because
but
that's
like,
supposed to be the next dark universe.
That shit ain't happening.
I know, but
they've been trying for 30 years to do a new creature movie. But the problem is, there's a problem with that, is that entirely that is owned by Universal. It's not like you can make a werewolf movie. You can make a movie about a mummy. You can make a movie about Frankenstein. You can make a Dracula movie. But where's my Gill man? I mean, okay, again, that's why I was so fucking bonkers for Shape of Water, because I got my Gilman movie. But
I don't know. There was something in the works on a Black Lagoon remake.
Well, whatever. Sometimes it's okay just to let things die. You don't have to reboot things. You don't have to make sequels endlessly. It's fine. It is fine. So the thing is about this movie certainly more so than Basic Instinct, and probably more so than our final feature of this month, Exotica, because Exotica, I think, kind of was its own thing, and we'll talk about that when we get to that thing, because I don't think it's quite the same as the other three that were in this month. But this is a prime example of, if we can get anything that makes people feel a certain way about sexuality, or make them feel anything that might be, oh, this is kind of a weird thing. And it's like sexual identity is they didn't have any concept of pansexuality at that time, but maybe we can have this weirdness, and it will bring people on dates, like the same people who went on date night for
Basic Instinct,
will come back for this, because it's like we're putting sex in their face, except for there's much less sexuality in this, and it's okay, granted, like I said, it checks off the Geoff list. It gave me a girl that it's like, I like what she's bringing to the front door. Okay, great, fine, fantastic, whatever. It's not weird enough, and it's not as full of sex as Basic Instinct. Granted, it had a plot, and it had something to give us in between the sex scenes, but there's a lot of sex in Basic Instinct, and sexuality.
Well, like the point we made in the last episode about Basic Instinct, though, is that the sex in Basic Instinct drove the plot. It was part of character development. It was part of plot development. It actually
certainly informed you of a lot of things.
It never actually happened, really, without a good reason for happening.
Or a consequence afterwards.
Right. But with Color of Night, it's just, all right,
hey,
sex scene now.
Dive into the pool and get fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
And it's a gratuitously long sex scene.
It is. I mean, because they have dinner, which she's naked.
Right, yeah.
She really likes to cook naked.
Yeah.
I'm on board for that.
But that's dangerous. If you're dealing with anything with grease, that's bad.
No, it did not look like. It looked like this was like, here's some fucking
hot oil and nudity do not mix.
No, I feel like this was a here's some asparagus, because it looks like a dick. It's like, it's all anyway.
Where the hell did she learn to cook, by the way?
I don't know. I mean, she's
been
woman?
like repressed by all. She's been repressed by her older brother into like a male gender identity.
But he's also like, I get the feeling that he would be like, my dinner needs to be on.
Yeah, maybe.
So Richie, you got to still learn, even though I know I'm trying to make you a boy, Richie.
Right.
But use your.
He wants a brother and a wife.
Exactly. He wants a brother-wife.
Brother-wife. That's a new weird Mormon sect.
Finally,
brother-wives.
Finally, I will say one thing that
I just alienated any Mormon fan we might ever have.
Fuck him. Fuck him. Yeah, the entire state of Utah just went to 0 views.
Brother-wives.
Mitt Romney is pissed at us now. So one final thing that I say that I actually will say is a legitimate positive is that the way that they handle Richie as I want to be a female is, I think, handled relatively well for its era.
Sure.
Because at one point in time, somebody, it's probably Kevin J. O'Connor, who says it's like, or no, it wasn't.
It was Lance Henriksen.
It was Lance Henriksen.
Yeah.
Richie wants to be gay or something like that. And Richie explains, no, it's like people make fun of me. People want me to be a certain thing. I don't want to be gay. I just want to be a woman.
Be a woman, yeah.
And it's not met with laughter. It's not met with any more derision or, oh, what a weirdo. Get out of here, you weird fuck. Bruce Willis asks, Bruce Willis shuts down Lance Henriksen, who says the next step is to go under the
chop
knife.
your nuts, basically, or whatever.
And Bruce Willis like, Buck, shut up.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he asks, I can't remember what question, but it was a seemingly perfectly understandable next question, which is, well, what do you want? Basically, it's like, well, what do you feel
want
is the next thing?
Right,
You
yeah.
know, what is it that you want?
And I guess that is an interesting aspect, too, when you think about the fact that Richie is actually a woman posing as a man or a boy who wants to be a woman, who wants to be herself. Right. So that's kind of a fascinating dynamic.
But it's not met with anything other than just Richie wants to be gay, but Richie then sets it straight, and and Lance Henriksen falls back when he's basically shut down by Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
When at any point in time, because you have two characters who are seemingly alpha males, could have been problematic in that.
Yep.
So good on them for 25 years ago.
Sure.
When something that would have been 25 years ago, much less mature Geoff would have been like, oh, that's weird, but explaining it properly.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't want to be gay, I just want to be a woman.
It's actually a moment that's handled much better in that movie than even in Basic Instinct, where you have a situation where Michael Douglas has the confrontation with Sharon Stone's girlfriend and says, so man to man,
right?
Like it says, but you kind of understand where he's coming from, the aspect of, what the hell, she just threatened my life, and she has been watching me have sex, which is a huge violation of my privacy,
because he didn't know until he found out.
But he kind of makes a weird gender dig at her there.
But that's again, when you look at it nearly 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then she tries to kill him. So
fair enough. But the point is that we were in a much different place back then than we are now. We didn't understand those things. Those things were either if you wanted to be, either you were a transvestite or you had the operation.
It speaks a little bit to what we talked about last week about the villainy of lesbians in the movie. But that's really it. I mean,
right. And in the end, it was not bisexuality, homosexuality, or whatever being the main trait of the villain.
Right.
It was a gender identity issue, but it was another person's inability to let go of a dead brother that ultimately was the villainy. But anyway,
yeah, sure.
My point was that I was actually, it's like, wow, okay, that's.
Yeah.
They could have handled that 100% worse, and they could have handled all of it about Richie a whole lot worse.
Yeah, you're right. That was my kind of like the whole thing I was worried about going into this movie was I knew enough about it from when I saw it 20 years ago to know that it dealt with gender identity and that it dealt with, multiple personality and pansexuality. Yeah. And I knew enough to where I was like, I got a little worried. It's like, oh boy, is this going to be 90s treatment of some of these issues? And to some degree with like mental health, which I feel like mental health never gets treated correctly in movies. It actually, you're right. It treated that issue of gender identity, I thought, as delicately as I could.
They did
hope.
not make gender identity a psychological issue.
Right.
But what feels right to you issue.
Right.
So anyway, I have nothing more I want to say about this.
Me
We've been
neither.
going for an hour and a half.
Oh,
it's
that's
like,
enough.
Jesus Christ.
That's
it's like
enough.
This is the director's cut of this episode.
You're still with us?
Jesus Christ.
I think Jeff's going to need to create the producer's cut of this because hour and a half is way too long.
Well, I don't know. We talked about some good stuff. I don't know. Anyway, next week, hopefully we bounce back a little bit with Jade, which should get us a little bit more closer to
this is David Caruso's this was
his moment to shine.
He demanded all sorts of money. He was like coming off NYPD Blue. Like he was going to be the next big thing.
Was coming off of The Last Seduction.
Yep.
This was still right in that middle 90s sexual explosion of neo-noir sexiness.
Yeah.
But this should get us back to a little closer to Basic Instinct. I don't think it's going to be in the same stratosphere as that, but it should be better than this one. Yeah, so I'm looking
check it
forward to that.
out. Yeah.
Check that business out. Let's give this movie a rating quickly out of red flags.
Red
Because
flags.
every character had a bunch of red flags, and all of them belong to Jane March. Which only the more red flags, the sexier she gets, guys. I'm telling you.
Wait, well, how are we ranking this?
Okay,
How do I give it the lowest possible score?
more red flags.
Okay.
So out of 5, 1 red flag means this is good stuff. 5 red flags is this is stay away. This kooky, stay away.
I would give it 5.
Really?
There's no reason to watch this movie.
Watch it with the fast forward button down. 4 red flags. Check it out.
And you're going to fast forward at least 130 minutes of this movie. So have fun with that.
130 minutes is how long this movie is.
140.
140. So okay, yeah. I know there's some. Watch some of Ruben Blades stuff because he's chewing scenery. Watch anytime you see a close up on Lance Henriksen, stop and watch it, or a medium shot on
That's
him. If
fair.
he's talking,
If he's
stop
talking,
and
watch it.
If you see Jane March cooking naked, stop and watch it.
You'll probably want to see that.
You'll probably want to see that. Anyway, 4 red flags. Check it out.
All right.
So next week, Jade, like I said,
Check us out in the meantime on all of the social medias, the Twitters, the Instagrams, the Facebook. We are at Film Seizure and all those places.
Yep, and you can always go to filmseizure.com. You can check out. You can send us mail
If you
at filmseizure@gmail.com.
Yeah, the filmseizure@gmail.com. Just
say hey.
Old-fashioned email.
Hey, you know what?
We actually read them.
If you,
We really do.
we really do. You could say, hey, Jason's right. There's too much teeth in that mouth, or Geoff is right.
There's not enough bush in my mouth.
Geoff is right about the number of items of clothing is directly proportionate to
the
sexiness. Yeah. I've done the theorem. I've done the math.
He does. There's a
There's
whiteboard.
a whole whiteboard. It's like fucking Goodwill Hunting back here behind us. Anyway, I'm Geoff Arbuckle.
I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Sexy Film Seizure.